Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back for another edition of Hot Garbage, the actual musical. The world remains in a flaming pile of hot trash, as is per usual, as is to be expected. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to first begin by saying this episode is presented to you by BobbySauce.com. I am repping the Literally No Rainbow t-shirt. Go and grab it at BobbySauce.com and support the channel. If you do not already follow on Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere podcasts are heard, please make sure that you go and subscribe after the show, and please leave a review, whether you liked it, you didn't like it, crank my bag, tell people I'm a balloon knot, I'm a dirty balloon knot, and not worthy of their listen. Everything is trash. Please go and review the show. You can follow all the links to every podcast on BobbySauceShow.com. All right. Everything is dumb. I know that you're extremely surprised by that realization because, everything is going fine and we're all just doing great. For those of you that have not seen the video that I put out today, I'm very proud of it. The video is called Choose a Side. It's up on the YouTube channel as well as on Facebook as well as on Instagram, and it's doing really, really well. Doing much better than I would have hoped or that I anticipated. And I have a bunch more of these videos coming. I'm really excited about them. I think they're creative, they're fun, they're another way of delivering the truth in a digestible way that anybody can kind of wrap their head around. I find it like a really fun and creative way, like I said, to repackage and distribute the truth in a digestible way. Some people may not care so much to see me or share me, but they feel like that message is what they are already thinking and feeling, so they feel good sharing it, and the message is good. So I appreciate everybody that shared the video. If you have not already checked it out, it's on the Facebook, YouTube, as well as on Instagram. I also posted it on Getter, Telegram, and everywhere else, every other one of my channels. Please go to followbobby.com and make sure you follow me in all of the places. And like I said, all the podcast links and whatnot can be found at BobbySauceShow.com. Yesterday was a very important day in American history, and I wanted to just point out a couple things because obviously, like most of you, I feel like the way that the world is going, forget even just the country, but the way that the world is going and how it's reacting to just even the most basic of things is certainly a cause for literal concern, as it just seems that people are completely clueless as to what could possibly be true, or what in fact is true, which is why I've named this particular video. Hold on, my video just changed in the background, which is why I've named this particular video Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Hold on. All right, sorry for everybody that is listening on the podcast. Technical failure, technical difficulty. I don't know what's going to come up on that video. It's only 20 minutes long. I guess I made that mistake already, but whatever. The show must go on. So, again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So, again, what I think is just a remarkable and questionable risk that we all run living here on the planet of actual Earth, living and residing here on the Uncrustables, is that people have basically no discernment. They're outsourcing their discernment to the supposed experts in the room, to the people that supposedly know better than them, and they've found a ways to successfully demonize any person that dare question the pre-approved narrative. And we're witnessing this step-by-step dismantling of any ability to have some type of dissent or ability to question any piece of information that is spoon-fed to us. And it really just blows my mind. And I find it so sad and tragic that people can look at this objectively corrupted world around us, as good as it is, nature, family, love, all the rest. You know, we're alive, we're breathing a breath here today on the literal crust. But there's just all these corruptible uncrustables that are just out there being just demons, just spreading darkness and demonry. And there's just a lot of Decepticons, a lot of snakes in the grass there, Jimmy, and it's troubling to say the least. But people are outsourcing their discernment to some centralized authority, which makes them very vulnerable in the case of there being a straight up lie or somebody that has some type of nefarious intent to take advantage of them. If you believe that you live in a safe neighborhood and you don't unlock your front door, the person that may potentially go in that front door knows that you think that. They're going to attack the vulnerable neighborhood, and that's exactly what happens in rural America. There's countless examples of that and stories of that. How many of those murder mystery shows or whatever have you heard of them being like, it was a quiet street in a nice neighborhood, and then some psychopath came in the front door with a freaking axe? You know, it's a tale as old as time. And then you have these pew pew free zones, and people are like, if I'm going to go in there and cause some damage, I'm going to go to where I know people don't have the ability to protect themselves. Invariably, those are the places that get attacked first, because people aren't really that dumb. The people that are dumb are the people that believe the pre-approved packaged narratives about what they think is actually true. And that in and of itself is a very clear and present danger and massive risk to all of us here on Earth, because people are so quick to believe the supposed experts. They won't even question anything. They have no basic discernment and the general disposition of what they believe to be everybody, because the flows of information are all controlled and centralized and filtered down by the people that are in control, that are fitting to win, not only financially, but by the means of the power that they obtain. All benefit from this. So it just presents a massive risk to everybody else that people are so willing to blindly accept the narrative. And interestingly enough, for all of us that have been paying attention for the course of the last 10 whatever years, or even longer, the deception has always been there. It's just now it's getting so blatantly obvious that people that have been paying attention and been aware of what's going on 10 years ago are like, really? They're going to tell you to put a diaper over your breathing hole, over your mouth hole? Wear the diaper, pull the diaper down to eat your pretzel on the plane while you're negative 3 inches away from some 500-pound 68-year-old person that's like eating a lollipop for 10 hours, and they're just like, yeah, just make sure you pull your diaper down. Pull down your cloth diaper. Here's a leaked version of an email from the so-called science authority, Dr. Garbchi, the weeble that collects coins under the bridge at the River Styx. This literal weeble serpent from the underworld is like, he's like in his emails just like, yeah, they don't do anything. He says it straight out. He says it on TV in real time. You're watching it on 60 Minutes in March, and he's like, yeah, they don't do anything. People shouldn't be wearing those. And then 5 months later, he's like, yeah, wear 17 of them and put one over your brown eye while you're at it, just in case the monkey skin bubbles tries to creep into your dirt star. And people are just like, I'm gonna get a tattoo. Fauci's my co-pilot. He's my co-pilot. He's relatable. I can pick him up and put him in my pocket because he's that small. He threw the pitch to third base. He's so relatable. He's the sexiest man alive. Look, he's on the magazine cover. It's like, what is wrong with you? The guy is point blank just being like, literally no. And 60 days later, they're just like, he's my co-pilot. Like, pardon? Like, pardon me? What? Donde está? You know what I mean? Donde está tu common sense? I'm just saying, why is everybody so dumb? Whatever. So the reason that I come to this conclusion, or while I am invigorated to chat about this, is obviously because of what occurred yesterday here on American soil, here in the literal land of the free, home of the alleged brave. I'm just saying, I love this country, but where are they? Where is everybody? Donde, you know what I mean? Donde está tu reverence for history? I thought it was about the troops. Remember the past. Never forget. Never forget. Yet people can't remember what happened 7 freaking months ago, but they're like, never forget 21 years ago. Kids today, a 16-year-old kid today, an 18-year-old kid today, a 21-year-old kid graduating college with a master's degree in upside down dance theory, underwater upside down dance theory. It's like people like Fleckas and Justin Awad are sharing videos where they're just like, how many dimes are in a dollar? And they're like 64. It's like, yes, there's 64. People don't even understand how many dimes are in a literal dollar, but we're expecting them to remember what happened 21 years ago. Nope. They wouldn't even know where to go find the truth if it was inside a Yeet song and it was blasted into their ear hole and then twisted sideways and blasted into their brown eye. But whatever. If it was on OnlyFans and it was free, they'd be like, what? So whatever, everything's trash. But okay. So again, I just want to revisit. I don't even know. On that day in September, which you can't mention because everything's dumb, I just want to ask a very simple and very serious, just a basic question. What do you think is more likely? The story that they told us or the possibility that it's a lie? Because what I want to talk about, at least to begin the broadcast here, I actually wrote more notes for this particular episode than any episode thus far, which may be a good thing or may not. I guess we'll see. Obviously, we had the snafu with the video before. It might some who knows what video is going to come up there next. It might be a Lil Nas X video or something. Who knows? But I wrote a bunch of notes. I'm just saying, if you watch 3 hours of material related to what occurred on that day, and you were to write down the official narrative in a book. I'm not talking about the other stories. I'm talking about what literally occurred that you can see with either Ojo, that you can just take your Ojos and just point them at the device and be like, yeah, I don't know. That probably doesn't make sense. Let's talk about that. Who do you think is more likely to tell the truth? Somebody that tells you the official story 3 years after the fact that has some other means, some other benefit. Follow the money. Who sees to benefit? What is the motive? Just like you solve a murder, what is the motive? Who is to benefit? If you take all of that out and you look at the objective evidence, for example, the first-hand firefighter accounts on the day of, while they're literally sitting on a ledge in front of the building, covered in literal dust, as you saw reposted by my good man Ian Smith on his Instagram today. They're like, what happened in there? And they're like, there were multiple explosions. We heard 3 of them. What do you mean you heard 3 of them? And they're like, oh, that was the such and such. If that's do you believe the literal people that literally were the heroes, that were literally there on the spot in real time, caught on camera by a literal news reporter being like, this is what occurred? Or do you believe the story that was homogenized down and predetermined in an 8,000-page book released 3 years later by the exact same people that may or may not have looked the other way, or who knows, that we're seeing to financially and power benefit as a result of this occurring? Who do you believe? You watch the video and they're like, these things occurred. You listen to people like Barry Jennings, rest in peace, William Rodriguez, that were literally like, I was in the building. William Rodriguez, for example, specifically saved probably hundreds, if not thousands of people by leading firefighters down different hallways, unlocking doors with a skeleton master key. And then going and raising $120 million for the victims in the years to follow, suing the administration for their complicity 3 years later, a guy that was a janitor. What would compel a guy to do that? Have you ever heard of this guy? You know how many people must have offered this guy big contracts, Hollywood contracts, and you can go to his website and you can read up on it, turn down all the money, turn down all the accolades, just tried to get the story out. Do you believe him And do you believe all the other accounts that you saw, or do you believe the boiled down story from the supposed authority, the same authority that told you that if you get the juice, you can't spread the clap, only to 6 months later tell you that you can spread the clap, only to 6 months after that have the facts come out that say you're more likely to get it and more likely to take a nap under the earth in 6 feet. If you did take it, and the real facts come out, the truth comes out later down the line, and all the people that got demonized, removed from society, that got blamed as crazy, all along were proven right, but everybody just sweeps it into the memory hole, plops a hot brown on it, and moves on about their day. And nobody pays attention. And the vast majority of people are completely tuned out, complicit, sheep, lemmings. There is no neutral party anymore, if you ask me. There are only people on one side or the other. It's very simple. If you sit there and you're like, yeah, almost 3,000 citizens and then tens of thousands of people overseas in the years that follow, trillions upon trillions of dollars of squandered cash that is going to be paid for by your children's children, even though these lying demons suggest to you that it'll never have to get paid back, acting on your behalf, engaging us in foreign affairs, destroying innocent lives, and doing all types of horrible things while enriching themselves and their buddies and absorbing more and more countless powers while demonizing anybody that dares to question the narrative, who have historically throughout history been proven to be correct in more ways than one. And one needs to look no further than the device in your pocket at any point, 24/7, 365, from the top of a mountain. Just read any story about any lie that's been ever perpetrated by the supposed authorities throughout the history of time, because there are plenty and they are abundant. People like Richard Nixon, for example, just off the top of the dome. Richard Nixon ran for president based on the premise that he was going to get out of the Vietnam War. As soon as he gets elected, boom, more money to the Vietnam War, more people to the Vietnam War. What happened with that war? We lost, and here we are 40 years later, and there's people that are still suffering medically as a result of what happened there. But whatever, who cares, right? Who cares about things that occurred? Now, I'm not anti-institution for the 50,000th time. I believe in institutions. I believe in government. I believe in there being. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in and I love America, and that's why I talk about it, because I care about that and I care about people. And anybody that really cares about people and what happens to innocent people should care about this, because there is no neutral party anymore. You're either allowing it to happen or you're fighting against it, figuratively, not fighting, because you have to say that because everything's stupid. But it's the people that are speaking out about it that actually really care, that are doing something or paying attention, at the very least, spreading the truth. Those are the people that care. The people that tell you that they care, that fake that they care, that LARP like they care, these people are not on your side, or in my opinion, and probably yours, the right side of history that they love proclaiming that they're on. So you have people like Barry Jennings, who was in the building, that was interviewed numerous times, that tried to get the truth out and was like, this is what it is. Then you have William Rodriguez, and you have a variety of other live clips that were taken in real time of these people right immediately after, saying, these are what happened. The lobby was blown out. The basement was blown out. This door was this. I got blown back on the 8th floor. That's what Barry Jennings says. What do you mean the 8th floor when we're talking dozens upon dozens of floors above? How do you explain that? How does the lobby get blown out? The answer is that it doesn't. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know the truth, but what I'm going to say is, if you believe the story, cross the T's, dot the I's exactly as they deliver it, I don't even know what universe you're living in. These are the exact same people that said that JFK got shot by a former informant from whatever behind at a slight angle with a basically prehistoric weapon, and hit 3 times consecutively without a miss. Okay, I'm sure that's what happened. That seems believable. And then there's countless other examples throughout history, not just American history, but world history, of people being lied to advance some agenda, a financial agenda, a power agenda, or some greater, bigger play that those people are not very aware of at the time. Yet here we are just going to believe that the supposed authorities are batting 1,000 when we have this perfect example in real time. Every single person was alive for this. In the last 24 months, they're like, if you get the juice, then this won't happen. Then it happens. If you get it, then you might do it, but then this. If you wear the diaper, then this will happen. We won't force people to have it. We won't mandate it. Then they mandate it. We won't tax people under 400K. Oops, it's 200K. Oops, we're going to do that. It's the Inflation Reduction Act as inflation goes up. Every single person's getting bamboozled in real time, and they're getting literally clapped from every single direction simultaneously, and people are so clueless. And this is why I say it's beyond a reasonable doubt. If you are believing the narrative, you're a sheep, hook, line, and sinker. You got caught. You're getting fished out of the water, and you're done. And how you're going to sit there and act like the people that supposedly question it are the stupid people, but you're somehow holier than thou and more intelligent. Like, seriously, please. Sad. Then you have things, like I said, with your own two Ojos. I'm not going to draw the conclusion for you. Draw the conclusion yourself. How are you going to see the BBC on television in real time with Building 7 standing behind him being like, and then Building 7 collapsed while it was still standing? I think it was 7 minutes before it went down. They're on live TV and they're like, Building 7 just collapsed. It's in the shot behind him. In the shot. I don't know, whatever. You watch the news report, you Google it yourself, you go and find it. How do you explain that? I don't know. You got video footage on the ground of firemen being like, back up, that one's coming down. That building's about to come down. When in human history has a 34, I don't even remember the stories, has a 35-story office building in the center of the largest city in America and the most prosperous city the world has ever known. How, because of some supposed office fires, does a building like that collapse into its own footprint in less than a day when it was not hit by anything? How does that happen? How does it fall in a perfect imprint of itself like a controlled demolition and fall at free fall speeds? How do 3 buildings fall at free fall speeds into an imprint of themselves? How is that possible? How could you believe that? And they're like, steel beams are weakened by such and such. Look, it's a weakened. Oh, really? Well, last time I checked, these things came into the towers from the side. Anybody that's ever cut down a tree, for example, knows that wherever you create that penetration point, it'll go towards or away from that point. How does it go straight down? It just goes straight down because understandably, the beams on the other side would be just as strong. They're just as hot over there. The whole thing is equally as hot. So hot, in fact. And then if that was really the case, when the first one came down, wouldn't it go do? No, it wouldn't have fallen at a free fall speed. You don't have to be a structural engineer to be able to look at basic things and be like, that doesn't add up. Now let's just pretend that you are a structural engineer and you watched all the stories and you believe everything that they tell you. Donde está the black boxes from these 3 planes? Supposedly they have them. They had the one from Pennsylvania, but they only allowed the families to hear it. Where's that? They're just never going to play that. We're never going to know about it. Cool. How many things were kept quiet from the public only to be realized 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years later that there was a cover up there? How does that happen? Who knows? That couldn't be the truth. Donde está the boxes? I'm just saying, where are they? If it's so true and everything's above board, what would possibly be risked by showing those boxes? Every airport in America had video surveillance at this time. I don't care what people want to say, but in 2001, there were video cameras. Where's the videos of these dudes walking through the airport? Where is the videos of these dudes walking through the airport? You should have them pulling up. You should have them walking in the front door. You should have every single minute of that documented, at the very least some of it. Where are those? I don't know. Probably the same place that building in Washington, D.C., that's the most video surveilled building on the planet, probably in the same place that those videos are. because they said that there was some guy that planted some devices on that day, a mystery guy that they happened to catch on camera, and there he is on camera. You're telling me that they couldn't geolocate the cell phone device? You're telling me that they couldn't use video surveillance footage to follow that guy around DC and every single side street and every single private independent business leading up to that day? It was broad daylight. You're going to tell me that the most advanced intelligence organization in the history of the world can't figure out a human person that walked into the middle of one of the most heavily surveilled locations on the planet in 2020? And you're going to tell me in 2021, and you're going to tell me that they can't figure out through cell phone data or independent private video footage or the video footage that day, the most advanced intelligence agencies the world has ever known can't figure out who that guy is. But those people could simultaneously find Saddam Hussein underneath the ground in a cavern on the other side of the planet, and Osama bin Garbeltini up inside his house mysteriously on the other side of the planet. But they can't find an American citizen in an American city in 2020 in broad daylight with 1,000 video angles of him. They can't find that guy. Where's that guy? Here's another mystery for all of you clowns that just gobble this stuff up and are completely NPC sheep lemmings. Who released the Supreme Court documents? Who released them? Who released the Supreme Court draft decision? Who did that? Does anybody know who released that? I don't know. What a mystery. Who possibly could have released that? There was probably a collection of less than 100 people that could have released that Supreme Court draft decision, which caused riots, which caused a potential murder plot on a sitting justice that all of our supposed leaders were totally cool with. This happened recently. Where is that person? You're going to tell me that these intelligence agencies don't know who released that draft decision? Of course they do. And it's the same way that they keep these things private. Because they are not on your side. They only care about power and control. But yeah, we can't figure out who released that. Same way they can't figure out who was on 1,000 camera angles. Who opened the doors? Who opened a 20,000 pound, whatever it is, magnetic door that can only be opened from the inside? Who opened those doors? I don't know. Probably nobody. They probably just invaded with no weapons. They probably just invaded. It was the deadliest day. And people are going to have the audacity to compare that day to the day in September. All right, you're like, we're dealing with demons. These are literal demons. Meanwhile, on that day in New York City, the leader of the EPA, the head of the EPA says, the air is safe to breathe. You can go and breathe the air. I don't know anything about air quality. I don't know any more about air quality than the next 5 dogs combined. But I could tell you that two buildings, in fact, that had 400 tons of asbestos in them. 400 tons. 400 tons of asbestos were in those buildings lining them. 400 tons of fire retardant asbestos was in those 2 towers. When those 2 towers came down and got pulverized into dust, a dust that blanketed the city in every direction, how could the EPA, how could the leader of the EPA not think that 400 tons of pulverized asbestos would be safe for people to breathe? Yet the heroes, the supposed heroes that we will never forget, were told, go in there. You know how expensive a mask is? Not very. We all know now how expensive they are. Yet Tens of thousands of people were told by the supposed experts, by the supposed authorities, by the supposed masters that care so much about you that the air is safe to breathe and that you can go in there and risk your life. And more people have lost their life due to illnesses related to the rescue on that day and in the weeks following than actually perished on the day. More than 4,000 people have died from cancer and respiratory-related illnesses due to medical complications that came as a result of being on that site day of and in the weeks following. But who cares about those 4,000 people? The heroes. Yet those exact same people that went there that day, that risked their life, and the ones that happened to make it 21 years later and still be alive. For example, a person that on that day was 21 would now be 42 years old. Plenty of firefighters, plenty of police officers are 21. Plenty of police officers were under 30 and still fighting and serving. Yet you're going to say that the supposed authorities that care so much about you, that told you the air was safe to breathe, that said, never forget, I'm going to give a speech on the day every year forever. These never forget people, those are the exact same people that 21 years later, 20 years later, said that if you don't get this mysterious juice that could potentially cause complications to you and your health, your ability to provide for your family, risks to your heart, and risks that you may be allergic to it or have some type of some type of religious exemption. Sorry, if you don't do this, you can't enter a restaurant, you can't watch a movie, you can't experience any entertainment after we just kept you locked up and imprisoned like a slave for over a year. We took away your ability to earn money. We took away your ability to freely move. You've served our city and you've served the public for your entire life, but unless you take this mysterious juice from a company that has been widely documented as being corrupt for the last 20-something years, paid billions of dollars in fines, the largest fine of any company in American history, you will sit down and you will take this juice, or you will lose your pension, you will lose your career, you will lose your job, and on top of it, you don't have the right to eat food in a restaurant. Never forget, guys, our heroes. Don't forget our heroes. Never forget. Nope. Sorry. You remember that pension you've been working for the last 20 years? The fact that you worked your way up in the fire department, risked your life for the better part of your life? Sorry. You need to take this mysterious juice or you're out. Sorry. Oops. Oopsie daisies. Eric's in charge now. Eric. I'm cool as heck. I'm so cool. He's so cool. Eric's so cool. He's cool as heck. Sorry. Thanks for your service, but pound sand. We appreciate it. Never forget. You know what I mean? Never forget. Cool. Meanwhile, you're going to simultaneously, while all this stuff is true, you're going to simultaneously also believe the true story that the passport of one of the people on one of the planes that was in New York City, the paper passport, was found on the ground on a New York City street before the first tower fell, which means that it was found within 1 hour and 41 minutes. You're going to sit there on the planet of Earth with a slight bit of discernment and a half an Ojo and one single individual brain wrinkle. And you're going to tell me that you believe the story that a paper passport fell out of the plane and escaped a flaming fireball to land several blocks from the building, get found and picked up by a good Samaritan and given to a New York City detective, identifying the person that was allegedly on the plane within an hour and 40 minutes. You're going to believe that? What planet do you reside on? Because if you believe that, you are clueless. I got some Bitcoin to sell you. Just send me $8,000 first. That's a joke. Don't take it down. Oh, you're clueless. You are living in a dream world of magic, and your inability to have the most basic discernment of what's going on in the world around you makes you a vulnerability to the rest of us, because unfortunately, your vote is just as good as my vote and every other vote. And if you believe that a piece of paper fell out of a flaming fireball and was found in an hour and 40 minutes, you're clueless, dog. Sorry, hate to break it to you, you're living in a dream world of magic. Yeah, a paper passport fell out of the... How did it get out of there? Did it fall out of the window? How many times have you been driving in a car, a physical vehicle? How many times in your life have you been driving in a car where something heavier than one piece of paper has fallen out of the window? This is a car where probably 15 to 20% of the time, of every single time you've ever gotten a car in your life or less, the window has been open. And still, over the course of your entire life, you could probably think of less than 5 times that anything, let alone a booklet, has fallen out of the window. You could probably think of less than 5 times in your entire life. Yet you're going to tell me on a commercial passenger jet that a piece of paper flew out the window? How many jets have you guys been on that had an open window? How many times have you been on a commercial passenger jet where something flew out the window? What planet are you living on? What universe are you in, Jim? Like, tune in. Space back down to Earth. How much evidence does it have to be to put you beyond a reasonable doubt that these people might be lying to you? I'm not going to act like I know who's doing the lying, even though it seems pretty obvious. You can draw that conclusion yourself. Who sees to benefit? Who makes the money? Who benefits? Who earns money? Who obtains more power? That's where you should look. It's so obvious. It's the same thing that they would do in any normal criminal trial. Who made the money? Who benefited? Who got power? Why? What is the motive? But you believe that a piece of paper flew out of the door of a passenger jet. Okay, got it. Let's pretend for a second like you actually believe that. Let's pretend that you believe that story. In Pennsylvania, where the plane was crashed into the ground because it was overtaken by citizens, which may be true. Let's just pretend for the sake of the discussion that it is. 90% of that passenger jet was destroyed as it violently smashed into the ground in rural Pennsylvania. 90% pulverized, including bones, including human bones. 90%. You know how big an engine is on a commercial 747? You know how much metal is in an engine? Yet not one, but two passports were recovered from the flight in Pennsylvania. 2 paper passports. The official story states that 2 paper passports were recovered in Pennsylvania. Let me remind you, the plane in Pennsylvania, there was debris scattered for over 8 miles. 8 miles. Does anybody know how many feet are in 8 miles? Here's a hint. It's a lot. From what I recall of my measurement of miles, I believe it's something like 5,000 something feet. So forgive me if I'm wrong. But if you're going to tell me that in a space spanning 40,000 feet, over 40,000 feet, what kind of wreckage spans over an 8-mile distance? So this thing, which was let's just, for the sake of the discussion, which I don't even think it's this long, let's just say it's 150 feet. It's spread out to 40,000 feet. Let's say it's 300 feet. It's spanned out that far. And even if you believe that it is expanded in that much distance, which, okay, maybe. If it just dive bombed into the ground, okay, I guess. But if that is the case, how are you going to tell me that 2 paper passports were recovered intact to the point that they could identify these people from a crash like that, when 90% of the craft, including the frickin' engine and human remains, were all pulverized? Okay, yeah, let's pretend that we believe that. Which do you think is more likely? That there might be some mistruths, some deflections, a little bit of a lie in these equations? Or do you think that it's just 100% accurate? Because if it is even 3% inaccurate, if even 3% of the story is inaccurate, then why would it stop at 3%? If I'm going to tell you a lie, why would I only tell you one lie? If I could get away with one, why wouldn't I tell you 3? Why wouldn't I tell you 7? Why wouldn't I tell you 107? Why wouldn't I just lie about all of it? What would be a reason to lie? Why would somebody lie? To protect their interests. Because the truth posed a threat to their authority, or to their power, or to their financial return. Those are the only ways. If it changed their authority, if it took away some finances, or if it jeopardized some other plan. That's why anybody would lie about anything. Oh, they don't want to hurt your feelings. That's improbable when it comes to matters of the bureaucracy and a free people. So, again, black boxes. The air is safe to breathe. 400 tons of asbestos. Free fall speed. Building 7. Paper passports. 2 in Pennsylvania. 1 in New York. Complicated commercial airline pilot maneuvers done by amateurs. Made complicated maneuvers to hit these things flawlessly. With training that takes years and years and years for these people to hit accurately. In DC, all the footage held by private businesses and private individuals in the neighboring area when that thing happened in DC was all confiscated. Yet the only footage that you have ever seen has been the sideways, grainy, Nokia 3360 style, blurred, garbage footage that is probably 10 frames a second that was shot from like an ATM camera like across the street. Yeah, you're going to tell me that, again, one of the most protected buildings in the American homeland, in the richest and most prosperous free nation that humanity has ever seen, probably, modern nation, whatever, that the only angle that they have is that one grainy, scrumbly, bumbly, trash angle that you saw. Maybe. But if there was a different angle, if there was a better angle, if there was any other angle, if not simply to clear up the doubt, why would you not just allow people to see it? I don't know. How are you going to explain that to me? Probably the same way that they would say, hey, we have to hide this juice data for 70 years until people started complaining about it. But nope, they just pop it into the memory hole. Now, what happened as a result? Who sees to benefit? This event, the largest to ever take place on American soil in terms of loss of life, justified us invading other nations, one of which we abandoned 12 months ago in an extremely sloppy fashion and left everybody, including our wartime allies as well as our own citizens, to perish to a gang of barbarians that was armed with nothing more than handheld devices. And then we proceeded to leave them 80, I believe it was million, or was it billion? Billion? $80 billion of handheld weapons, helicopters, trucks, vehicles, missiles, defense material, and tens of thousands of night vision goggles, brand new, still in the package. The United States, for the majority of modern history, has owned the night, meaning that we were the ones that were safe in a nighttime wartime situation. Yet now we have sacrificed all of our night vision goggles to a bunch of barbarians that we paid tons of money to supposedly help rebuild whatever for 20 years and then abandoned and just left everything behind. Okay. Thank you, Think Strong, for the YouTube super chat. Really appreciate that. And thank you to the two people that bought the badges on Instagram. I really appreciate that. Before I forget, if you're following me on Instagram or on Instagram, not following me, please hit the arrow. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram. If you're on TikTok, make sure that you follow me. If you like what you're seeing here, hit that heart, get the likes up. Let's get some more people in here. Everybody on YouTube, thank you for following along. I appreciate it. Send me some hearts if you like what's going on. I appreciate it so much. Now, again, it's like, what would compel, how would you possibly compel individual citizens and firefighters to lie? And people that worked there, like the guy that worked for HUD, Barry Jennings, and William Rodriguez, these people that have proven themselves to be altruistic and heroic, not only on that event, but people that talked about them afterwards and their behaviors in the years following. How, after all that, are you going to think that those people had some or any incentive to lie? Yet all the other people that sought to benefit as a result of this, they didn't have any incentive to lie. You're going to have firefighters on the ground be like, this is what happened. The lobby was blown out. People that were in the basement was blown out. The lobby was in smithereens. I was on the 8th floor. I got blown back. How does that explain? There was 3 sounds, 3 explode. It's like, what would how could they possibly get that message to those people in real time? Now, the other thing that's important to remember is that a controlled demo is not something that happens overnight. This is a strategic process that happens over time. So if you want to understand the darkness of what we're really talking about here, it's far beyond what any of us can even comprehend. And again, I'm not going to act like I know what happened any more than you do. But I will say, to just say that there's no incentive for the truth to be hidden or no incentive for the story to be not what they say, I think is kind of dereliction of basic discernment and duty and respect to all these supposed heroes and all of these supposed people that we're supposedly never going to forget, that everybody has so casually forgotten, to demonize the parents that are fighting for their kids at school board meetings, or the people that are against 8-year-olds having men dancing in front of them in a absurd fashion. But okay. Thank you, Jay, on Facebook. It's like, and then to have those exact same people say that what happened in January is supposedly comparable when you're talking about 1v3,000. And like I said, over 4,000 people that perished due to medical conditions after what happened that day because of the air that they breathed, that they told them was safe to breathe. You're talking about 7,000 people in comparison to one person, one veteran, one veteran. But they're comparing these 2 days. It's disgusting. So it's like, if you could catch them lying about the diapers, if you could catch them lying about the efficacy of the mysterious juice, if you could catch them not acknowledging all of the other truths that have come out about this, and people like even Rachel Walensky over at the Center for Garbage Control being like, yeah, we made a mistake. Oh, okay, so you guys just have tens of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars of funding, but you made a mistake. You've just had a guy that's been at the head of this position, that's supposedly the health authority, the representative of science, that's been in this position, the highest paid government person in the entire bureaucracy, the highest paid, been there 30 some odd years, but this dude fumbled it, fudged it, couldn't figure out that what he said in March was not true in June. What he said in July was not true in September. It's like, guys, what universe do you live inside of? It is sad. But nope, no footage from DC on that day. No private footage, no surveillance footage, no gas station footage, no restaurant footage from across, no cell phone footage, no nothing, no other footage, just a grainy snuff film from an ATM camera from across the street that you got to see 20 years later. We got HD 1080p videos of somebody shaking their brown eye on camera, available on Twitter for the world to see, broadcast in real time, broadcast live. But you got to see a Nokia 3360 grainy camera shot from a sideways, upside down gas station 6 miles away 20 years later, and that's like, look, there it is. Shut your mouth. Don't say anything. Meanwhile, every video footage of every UFO is like grainy, upside down Nokia 3360 footage. Yeah, we got all these UFOs on camera. You got a camera phone in your pocket that could shoot 4K. But we have cameras. We have cameras all over our bases all over the world that are catching like this grainy, scrumbly, bumbly garbage footage of supposed UFOs. It's like, okay, sure, that seems believable. Kind of believable, like this story that they told us. Meanwhile, you had $2.3 trillion lost from the five-sided building, that organization. Oh, we just misplaced $2.3 trillion that they happened to announce the day before, or a couple of days before that day. And then which wing of that building that happened to get hit? Oh, the one that had all the documents related to that specific monetary event. Interesting. How convenient is that? That seems totally fine. Kind of like that guy over in Poutine just fell out of the window. He just fell on out of the window. Oopsie daisies. Last time I checked, a 67-year-old oil company CEO just falls out of a window mysteriously. And so do 7 of his buddies at the same time. Oopsie daisies. He fell off a tree. Oops. Why was he in the tree? Oh, I don't know. He must have been climbing for apples. Yeah, sure. But people are so clueless, they don't even understand. People are not living on the earth, so they're just like, yeah, this is a believable story. And then they're like, stupid repubs, maggots. It's like you're such a useful idiot. It's sad. I feel bad for you. Meanwhile, you have people like Donnie Ballgame himself predicting this event. You have numerous foreign intelligence agencies reaching out to us and saying, hey, this is something that could potentially happen. This location specifically in New York, this is not the first time that these buildings were subjected to this type of event, not using the same means, but it's not like somebody didn't come for this place before. Yet you have 1,600 some odd interviews, many of which were ignored, not conducted publicly, that never made it into the report about what actually happened that day. Why did those interviews not happen? Seems to me like an eyewitness account would be enough for people to take seriously. But no. The Army Corps of Engineers that just might not get their STEMI check, they said that it happened like this. But the people that were on the ground, nope. Did you know that if you had 150 eyewitness accounts for a murder and no other evidence, you probably could convict that person of murder? Oh, there's 150 eyewitness accounts, credible eyewitness accounts that corroborate with the evidence that's available? Oh, 150 eyewitness accounts? Oh, let me rephrase that. There's 1,600 in-person accounts from people with no incentive to lie whatsoever, that don't know people on either side of it. You have people like Donnie Ballgame predicting it in his book a year ahead of time. You have people like Jones predicting it, literally predicting the method, the means, and the person that they're going to blame it on in 2 months before it actually happened. You got the whole Willie Brown situation. I'd highly suggest you look that up. Willie Brown had a scheduled flight to New York on that day that he mysteriously canceled, along with a variety of other people, including Hollywood A-list celebrities and people that are connected to the Hollywood machine, that all mysteriously just didn't make it. I'm sure some of them are just normal luck of the draw. But to think that all of them are 300 some odd people that mysteriously just decided not to that day, I don't know. Seems like a pretty high number. Meanwhile, Larry Silverstein and his two daughters didn't happen to be there that day because he had a dermatologist appointment. Guy has $1 billion, more than $1 billion, multi-billionaire, but he's got to go to the dermatologist for a spot on his head. Couldn't just have the guy come to him. It's not like he was going there for a surgery. He was going there for a checkup. You can listen to his own words. I had this thing right here. Okay, cool. Just mysteriously wasn't there, and neither were his daughters. Interesting. Very convenient. Lucky Larry. Good old luck. Lucky Larry. Had the place for 2 months. Largest real estate transaction in New York City history. Yet in 2 months, gets paid out $4.5 billion. Owned the two buildings for less than 6 months. $4.5 billion. And then, using his own words, the guy literally said that his insurance policy maxed out at $3 trillion. The maximum for a single event for that building was $3 trillion. Yet, he got the insurance companies to get shaken down and consider it as two separate events, where they finally settled, instead of paying the $3 billion max, they settled on $4.5 billion. And why did he get $4.5 billion? How did he shake down the insurance companies? Has anybody here ever shaken down an insurance company? Because I know that I never have. Anybody know how grimy and scrumbly and bumbly these insurance companies are? Well, how exactly did he get that $4.5 billion? How exactly did he get one event to be considered as two events? How did he get not $3 billion, but $4.5 billion? And for those that don't understand math, $500 million, $500 million. The maximum payout, $3 billion. He gets an additional $1.5 billion. 1,500 additional $1,000,000. Why? How did he do that? Well, a new governor of New York or a new mayor of New York, it was the mayor of New York or the governor of New York, whatever, doesn't matter, was elected. And that man was a man by the name of Eliot Spitzer. How did Eliot Spitzer not have a position of authority in politics anymore? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because he was corrupt. What happened to Eliot Spitzer? Let's see. The governor of New York. The Democratic governor of New York. Interesting. Why exactly did he get ousted? Cool. Plenty of corruption. Plenty of controversy that happened while he was there. And then he resigned. In the wake of revelations amid threats of impeachment, he announced in 2008 that he would resign his post as governor because of his private failings. A prostitution scandal where he patronized the high-price escort service and met for 2 hours with a $1,000 an hour call girl. During a 6-month span, he had 7 or 8 liaisons, and paid the agency more than $15,000. And he paid up to $80,000 for prostitutes over a period of several years while he was attorney general and later as governor. You have a guy that is objectively corrupt, that did corrupt things, that was single-handedly responsible for shaking down the insurance companies to get this guy an additional $1.5 billion. As said, right out of the horse's mouth, right from Silverstein himself. On September 12th, 2001, the New York Times, which is no fan of the truth, which is a former newspaper, which is a basically rag of garbage, the New York Times said that Silverstein Properties had a meeting titled What to Do in the Event of a T Attack that was scheduled on the 88th floor on that day. And the night before, it got canceled because there was a person that could not attend this meeting. And how convenient is that on the exact same day, at the exact same time, when this event was supposed to take place, he wasn't there. The meeting was canceled. His daughters were running late simultaneously, both independent of one another. He was out of the building at a dermatology appointment. Hundreds of people canceled their flights, many of which were connected to the Hollywood machine. The Duchess of York was not in there, and a variety of other celebrities. People like Willie Brown mysteriously canceled his flight. Who knows why or how? I'm sure that's just the truth. I'm sure they're going to tell us the truth. Yet all these things just simultaneously occurred. And by the way, the passport was 2 blocks away. The buildings free fell into their own imprint at free fall speeds, live on television. 2 guys that could barely operate a single engine Cessna operated 2 commercial jet aircrafts in a complicated maneuver that would be difficult for any professional pilot to do, and simultaneously took out the 2 most populated buildings in the entire United States, simultaneously knocking them into their own footprint perfectly within an hour and a half, while also simultaneously the same day taking out a 30, 40 some odd story building that was not hit by one next door that supposedly fell into the ground at free fall speed at its own imprint, and it didn't even get touched. And it happened because of fires, which has never happened to any other building of that size in the history of human existence. And all these things simultaneously happened while 2 passports fell 8 miles away from a plane in Pennsylvania, while another one fell out of a commercial jetliner and fell on the ground 2 blocks away. Meanwhile, firemen, people that worked in the building, people that worked in the basement, people that saved people's lives, people that were there on site that day, recorded in real time by people that had no other incentive to lie, all said explosions, 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 3 explosions, 5 explosions, this explosion, that explosion. The lobby was blown out. The stairwell was blown out. The bottom floor was unrecognizable. The whole basement was burned. Donnie Ballpark himself talking about these buildings had a steel exoskeleton, a super strong steel lattice on the exterior of the building, where the steel beams were 2 feet apart from each other, surrounding this entire building. This was an extremely strong, over 80-story building, 2 of them with 400 tons of toxic asbestos inside that would have cost over $1 billion to remove. Yet somebody signed a 99-year lease on a building that needed $1 billion of repairs. A building that for decades they had known needed $1 billion of asbestos removal. Dangerous, expensive asbestos removal. If a home contractor finds asbestos in your single family dwelling right now, the home is uninhabitable. They need to come in hazmat suits to remove asbestos from a single family home. It can cost $30,000 to remove a single wall worth of asbestos from a single family home right now. Yet 21 years ago, $1 billion worth of repairs, and this dude signs a 99-year lease on this building. 3 months before this happens, has a meeting scheduled that day, is friends with the governor that later resigned for corruption, that he shook down the insurance companies for money and a half of what the policy actually even said. And then he says with his own 2 words, we're going to pull it. We're going to pull it. And then he says later it was the fire. You got firefighters on the ground. That building's coming down. Why would the building come down? How could you possibly say that building's going to come down? A firefighter has advanced knowledge of the engineering of that building to know that it's going to come down. You got the BBC saying in real time while the building is still standing, that building just fell when it didn't. Okay. All right. You got no black boxes 21 years later. You have all these different stories. Most of the dudes are from Saudi Arabia, yet we go over to Afghanistan, Iraq. Okay, yeah, guys. I'm sure that's what it is. I'm sure that's just A1 on the nose, on the button, 100% true. While they didn't lie to you about the diapers, they didn't lie to you about the efficacy of the juice, they didn't just say that a person that fought for the country, that was serving honorably in the military, that was maybe a month away from getting out, that person didn't have a dishonorable discharge and was taken away from their ability to earn money and all of the accolades that they worked their entire life to get because they wouldn't take a mysterious potion that had objectively bad effects on so many people. They wouldn't lie to you about that, even though Nixon lied to you and every other president at every other time has lied about so many different things. They didn't lie about Agent Orange. They didn't lie about the Vietnam War. They didn't lie about all of these secret, top secret, upside down operations that came out in the wash 30 years later. They didn't lie about all these things. They didn't lie about the Tuskegee experiments. They didn't lie about every single thing that didn't come out until 20, 30, 40 years later. All these things. Meanwhile, we go over to a foreign nation, blow the place to smithereens, and then go figure, Vice President Dick Cheney, who was the CEO of Halliburton, chairman of CEO of Halliburton for 5 years leading up to when he was the Vice President of the United States, as soon as he becomes the VP, his former company Halliburton gets a $7 billion contract from the United States government to contract overseas, a $7 billion contract that no other company was allowed to bid for. $7 billion. $7 billion. But yeah. It's totally fine, guys. And they found a paper passport 2 blocks away on the ground. His former company got $7 billion and a piece of paper flew out of an inferno. Not one piece of paper, 3 separate independent pieces of paper in 2 different states fell out of 2 flaming fireballs and stayed intact and were recovered in days. Got it. And people like Jones were able to accurately predict this 2 months in advance. Wow. Go figure that. Could you believe it? Yeah, I believe it. All right. Cool, guys. Meanwhile, you have American representatives, U.S. representatives like Pramila Jayapal posting online, remember the fallen, and including in the number of people that she says, mourn the victims, let's mourn the victims, guys. She includes the culprits. She includes the people who took control of these devices. She includes them, the 19 of them. She includes them. Whoa, we're mourning the number. When any basic Wikipedia search you could see in 1 second from any cell phone, any place on the planet, in 1 second, you could see how many American citizens actually lost their life on that day. Yet she consecutively for 2 years in a row, this is a sitting representative in the United States government is going to say, let's mourn the fallen, and include the people that perpetrated the crime. 2 years in a row. I'm sure that was an accident. Got it. That seems believable. And then so many people were like, yo, what? And then she takes it down. Cool. I'm sure she was really sticking with that. That seems cool. Pramila Jayapal, look it up. It's on Twitter. Google it. You can see it. It's more than obvious. Cool. But people don't understand how money and influence work. People don't understand the basic objective reality that we're all supposedly living inside of. They can't connect the dots. Because people forget that even though these people are allegedly human persons, maybe they're part lizard, who knows? Maybe they're grays, I don't know. People make mistakes and people can have favor curried. You can have people do things without telling them to do it. All you got to do is threaten or offer power, threaten or offer cash, threaten or offer authority. That's it. That's how you do it. You could do one of the following 3 things would be an easy way to manipulate a person into doing what you want. Step 1, exploit their vulnerabilities. Somebody like Elliot Spitzer, perhaps, the governor of New York. Oh, you spent $80,000 on prostitutes? Oh, wouldn't that be interesting if I told someone about that, like your wife? Oops, maybe you should get me that contract. Maybe you should just make sure that I don't not get that contract. You know what I mean? Got it. So you exploit the weakness in that person. Human persons, many, corruptible. You exploit the weakness, you blackmail them, has happened more than enough times in history. If you can't exploit the weakness of the person themselves, you exploit the weakness of their immediate circle, their family members, a la Hunter Parmesan spit paint through a straw, the guy that's living in a Malibu beach house right now, walking free after committing a federal crime, after throwing out a handheld protection device, after being filmed doing nefarious acts, unspeakable acts. That dude is walking free. No problem. Exploit the weak link. Hey, Joe, I have a video right here that shows this person that's related to you doing something that would put them in prison for the remainder of their life. You might want to make sure that you do this for me. You might want to make sure that this doesn't happen to me or my business. Oops. Exploit the weak link. It's happened in a number of different ways that the mob has been taken down. They find the guy with the loose lips. They find the drunk. They butter him up. Boom. That's how you infiltrate. Exploit the weaknesses, the human weaknesses of the person or the people in their social circle. It's a tale as old as time. If you can't do that, if they're scot-free, if they're just clean as a whistle, well, incentivize them through cash or monetary gain today or in the future. Oh, what's that? A loan guarantee? What's that? An inexpensive loan? What's that? Cash? What is that? A diamond? What is that? A gold bar? What is that? An untraceable piece of value? What is that? A shell company that sells you a house for less than it's worth? What is that? An estate that happens to get transferred into your name? What is that? A contract that happens to go to your brother, your cousin, your friend, your buddy, your best friend, your associate? The company that you got. Oh, maybe you'll get a book deal when you get out of office. Maybe you'll get a radio deal. Maybe you'll get a broadcast deal. Maybe you'll get a TV show. Maybe you'll get a production deal. Maybe you'll get a slice of a movie or a slice of a TV show or a slice of a piece of media or a slice of a corporation or a slice of a business. Maybe you'll get a speaking fee or a finder's fee or some other, or perhaps you'll get hired for consulting. Perhaps you'll get a consulting fee. You buy them out with money, especially if you're dealing with people that have generational wealth that has no end, that people that can create money or print it out of thin air, or people that have so much wealth and value that they're untouchable, that they are borderless. Oh, I'm the Queen of England. I have a blood diamond the size of my head. Wouldn't it be interesting if this happened? Got it? Okay. Oh, your loan happens to be paid off. Oops, you're going to get this favor or whatever. So, and then the third thing is promise of power. The third step is promise of power. Oh, I noticed that you're going to be running for VP in a few years. I noticed that you're going to be the director of transportation. I noticed that you're going to be the ambassador to this country. You're going to be this. You're going to be the climate czar. Oh, you're going to be the ambassador to whatever place. You're going to be the secretary of whatever. You're going to be the president of whatever. You're going to be the special counsel on whatever. You're going to get this thing. You're going to get this power. You're going to get this authority in the future. That'll be nice when you run for office. That'll be nice when you try to be the governor, the mayor, the attorney general. That'll be nice when you become the state representative, the senator, the house, whatever. That'll be nice when you get that consulting fee, won't it? Promise of power in the future. 3 very easily corruptible steps to taking advantage of pretty much anybody in the world. If you can't butter them up, you get them from the back. You find a way to poison them. And you don't poison them in real life, you poison them through the media. Oh, we wouldn't, or threat of destruction. There's your 4th one. Threat of destruction. We'll just publicly smear you. We'll just find a thing to plant on you. We'll find a way to entrap you and embroil you in a bunch of legal battles that will go on so long and so far that you're bound to slip up or cave. That's how it goes. Yet despite all this and all the historical precedent to show that this occurs in every country in the world, at every point in human history, people still just don't care. And it's so obvious. And if you need any, to hit on a modern topic that's not America related, I saw a story the other day that talks about how Prince Charles, or whatever his name is, the new King of England, the King, 2022, guys, the King of England does not have to pay a 40% inheritance tax that would normally have to be paid by any family in the UK. So the king and the royal family doesn't have to pay a 40% inheritance tax that would have to be paid by any other family in the UK. And people are sitting there and they're like, oh, they don't have any political authority. They don't have any political power. They're just like a statue. They're a statue. They don't have any political authority or political power. Got it. They're paid tens of millions of dollars by the citizens, by the taxpayers for nothing. They donate it to all these charitable organizations. Meanwhile, they possess billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, jewels, property, artifacts, relics, artwork, I'm sure, and things that we don't even know about that are not subjected to the same 40% estate tax as everybody else. I don't even live in the UK, but it's more than obvious to me a very basic thought. If you inherit a home that's from your parents in the UK and the home is worth $5 million, you are responsible for paying 40% of the $5 million as a result of the inheritance tax, which means the $5 million estate that is passed down to you from your parents, you now have to sell to pay the 40% inheritance tax unless you just have that much money sitting around. 10% of $5 million is $500K. 40% is $500,000. 40% is $2 million. So you would need to come up with $2 million to pay in cash in the inheritance tax for a $5 million house, which for most people, means you'd have to sell the house. The house, which would have to be sold probably in some short order so that you could pay this tax, at least within the 12-month span, so that you could come up with that cash. Well, everybody knows that if you have to sell a house quickly, you lose a little bit of value from that house. So the $5 million estate that if you took 6 months, 7 months, 8 months to sell it, might have sold for $5 million. But now because you got to fire sell it in 2 months, 6 months, 5 months, whatever, you might have to sell for $4.2 million. So you lose $800K off the top, and then you lose 40% after that. But not the king, not the queen, not the royal family. But don't worry, they don't have any power. They don't have any authority. They're just a flag. They're just some very nice, altruistic, very nice and friendly family that's just friendly and nice and nice and friendly and friendly and nice. Yet they'll hit you right in the face and say, 40% not subject to them. It's taxes for thee, but not for me. And nobody cares. And they just walk down the street with all of their pomp and circumstance and all of their, I don't even know if that was the right way to use that phrase, with all of their pageantry, all of the pageantry. But people are like, nah, they don't have any power. Okay. How would somebody like that have power without having power? I don't know. Maybe they would change the way that money is moved. Maybe they would change the way that their businesses invest. Maybe they would change where they donate money, where they offer charitable money. How would you wield power without wielding power in the objective sense, at least that the bureaucracy views it? Oh, they don't have political authority, but they have political authority. In the same way that the CEO of a Fortune 50 company, Fortune 100 company would have some authority over the political parties that they donate hundreds of thousands, billions of dollars to, hundreds of millions of dollars, you'd think that they would have a little authority. Even though they have no authority, they have authority. Well, I'm just not going to donate to your thing. I'm just not going to contribute to your campaign. I'm going to contribute to your opponent's campaign unless you play nice with me. You don't have to have power to have power. You don't have to have it written down on a piece of paper and contractually obligated to it to have and wield authority. So these people have $50 billion or whatever it is that you may think they have or may not have or whatever, and $80 million a year is being paid by the taxpayer to these people that supposedly have no political authority. Meanwhile, they're not subjected to the same taxes. They're not subjected to the same rules. They exist forever. They're not elected. They just exist until the end of time. They have a kid, and it goes on 1,000 some odd years, as I illustrated in my previous video. But they don't have any power. Oh, what about all of the charitable organizations that have power? What about the charities that pay private businesses? And this is exactly how people like Dollar Bill Fences does it. So here's a question. Dollar Bill Fences, altruistic dollar bill fences are the biggest doctor in the world that's not actually a doctor. Dollar Bill has a variety of different charitable organizations, and proclaimed that he would give all of his money or a large percentage of his money to charity upon his passing. Well, a lot of people are suffering in the world right now. Why not part with 20% of it? Why not 30% of it? Why not 50% of it? Why not 73% of it? If you're going to give it away anyways, why not do it now? Well, the charitable organizations that he donates to, his foundation and so forth, those foundations will pay for things like their flights to certain places and a variety of other things. And those organizations, those charitable organizations, which are largely tax-free, they can bring money in and then they can pay private businesses out from the charity. And those businesses that are private, they can have stake and stock in those businesses. So they bring money in the foundation through the charitable, non-taxable way. Then they take that non-taxed money and they pay private businesses of which they have an interest in. And then the money circles and cycles right back. And they get money from the bureaucracy. They get money from the institutions. They get money to curry favor from people in other foreign lands, people that might be good friends with us or people that might not be friends with us. And just like that, the money cycles around. And there's all these shadowy, dark organizations that nobody knows how to find or trace. And as a result, it all gets lost in the wash. And then CNN and every other major news outlet goes and sells them as the nice, friendly dweeb with the glasses and the collared shirt and the high waist and the moobs. And he's the medical authority and he wants to save you and save this. And he can do no wrong. And they'll ask him about his friendship with Jeffrey Poopstain live on TV. And they'll be like, hey, what happened to Poopstain? And he'd be like, oh, well, he's dead now. Got it. This guy has all the visual tells of any psycho that you can see clear as day, but he's on every mainstream news organization. He's got every single company in his pocket, every media company. Everybody's on the take. Everybody's benefiting. Everybody's getting paid out, either through him directly or from his charities or from some other tentacle that's connected to him. If you don't play along with what Billy Fences says or his ecosystem, you're out. You're either in or you're out. You're either part of the darkness or you're not. And all the good stuff is just to cover up all the bad stuff. All the people that proclaim that they're here to save you and help you and benefit you, and I'm on your side and I'm your friend and I'm your pal and I'm telling you the truth and why would I ever lie? They're the ones that you trust the least. It's like when your buddy says, I wouldn't lie to you. Those are the people that lie, because the people that wouldn't lie wouldn't have to say that. They just wouldn't lie. They wouldn't have any reason for you to question them, and they would just go along and build their trust over time. Yet you have people like Dollar Bill, who was on the flight logs with Jeffrey Poopstain all those times. This guy was a convicted person that had done very bad things objectively, had been convicted of it, had done time for it. Yet him and all these other people that are so altruistic and good and friendly and nice and nerdy and dweeby and nice and friendly and kind and whatever, that we're supposed to believe for every single thing, including medical things that have nothing to do with any experience that he has whatsoever. This guy would never lie. Why would this guy ever tell us anything but the truth? Listen to him. Got it. Let's believe that one. Yet people don't even seem to understand why Mackenzie Bezos, Jeff Bezos' former wife, is probably the #1 charitable donor so far in the last 2 years. She's given over, I think, $12 billion away. A lot of it to Planned Parenthood, which, it's up to you whether or not you think that's good, but whatever. But Mackenzie Bezos has given away $12 billion. Well, why hasn't Bill done that? Why haven't Warren done that? Why haven't Jeff done that? Could it be possible that these people are not as nice and friendly as they seem? Could that be possible? They signed the document that says they're going to give it away, but who's going to actually hold them to that account? Couldn't they just use that as a nice, friendly, fuzzy, warm story to pump through the press to tell you that that's what they're about to do when they may never do it? I don't know. Meanwhile, in American politics, you have all the useful idiots, all the people on the left, all the people that look the other way when Joe Byron sniffs the kids, hide the kids, sniffs the parm, wears Hunter right now, spit paint through a straw, sell it to a foreign adversary, whatever, maybe not, probably not, whatever, who cares? I'm sure it's fine. He's an artist now. Where's his art? Who knows? No one sees it. It looks like child's play. Looks like he finger painted it while he was on a Parmesan binge, but whatever. Meanwhile, all these people that are looking the other way as Joe Byron hides the kids, sniffs the parm, literally said today, end of quote, in a speech again. He literally said again today, end of quote. After you've been publicly ridiculed and laughed at for saying end of quote, and everybody knows that you say end of quote, and it literally says fuddrucking end of quote, and any person with a half an ojo or a single brain wrinkle would be like, don't say end of quote. Any person with even the most basic logic would just put a close quote. They wouldn't even write end of quote. You wouldn't even need to write end of quote because any normal person could see the end of a quote. Nor does it even need to be said at all. Why would you even write end of quote if the guy has a history of saying end of quote? Yet despite all that, the most advanced organization, the most 80 million votes says end of quote again today. But this guy is so sharp that these guys can't stop talking about Donnie. He's got a document. Look, he's wearing golf shoes. Look, he has his golf shoes. Look, he's talking to a person on a golf course. All the useful idiots just lining up and towing the establishment line, begging for us to have less power, less authority, less freedom, just driving us off a cliff while accusing everybody else of being stupid, everybody else of being low IQ. Yet these people want John Fetterbean. He's made of steel. He lives in a steel plant. He lives underneath a steel. He eats steel for breakfast. Fetterman, Fetterbean, Fetterwoman. He's huge. Carhartt. Look, he's wearing a hoodie. He's so relatable. He's in the mines just like us, digging the steel out of the mine. He's in the mines. Look, he lives in a steel plant. Look, he's Fetterbean. Fetterbean can't even say a speech for more than 2 minutes. Yet this guy's supposed to represent you in the Senate for 6 years? This guy can't formulate 2 minutes of a speech. He did a speech in front of the Steelworkers Union in Pittsburgh or whatever the other day. This dude gave a 2-minute speech that is dismal. Absolutely dismal. Yet they're going to sit there and be like, Donnie's fat, secret documents, when they'll simultaneously push John Fetterbean they're like, look, he's wearing a hoodie. He's relatable. He's just like me. Can't do a sentence, just like me. He's made of steel. He lives inside a steel plant. This guy is a grifter. This guy has absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and all they could talk about is Dr. Oz eats crudité. Dr. Oz has mansions. He has so many mansions. He made money for himself. Dr. Oz, he's got so many mansions. Meanwhile, Fetterbean lives underneath a steel plant like that's some type of qualification for this guy actually being capable of representing anybody. The guy can't formulate a 3-minute speech. Yet this guy is their representative. This is their golden goose. He's made of steel. He's engineered in a steel plant. This dude can barely formulate a sentence. This guy pushed that it's unfair and not right and not just to have any candidate for Senate not do at least 3 debates. This guy single-handedly pushed himself and said that there should be 3, no less than 3 televised debates before any person would consider running for the Senate. Yet this dude has only agreed to 1 debate, and that debate is going to happen well after the mail-in ballots begin. So after all the voting begins, this guy's going to do his 1 debate with Dr. Oz, and all he's going to say is, crudité, if it even happens. It's going to happen after mail-in voting begins when it's too late to change your vote, and John Fetterbean, Carhartt, 10 feet tall, this guy, look, and Joe Biden's like, he's a big old boy, he's a big old guy. Call him by his name. He's the lieutenant governor, you psycho, but whatever. Who cares? He's a big old guy. My dad once said, Fetterbean's made of steel. And then my dad said, Joey, Fetterbean is made of a steel rod. He is basically steel. He is a steel plant. That's what he said. And then my mom said, Joey, don't look down your steel rod at me, Joe. And then I took a shower with my dog. Whatever. So this guy is their guy. This guy, because he's like, crudité, Dr. Oz. I live in a steel mill. My dad gave me money until I was 40. But this is their guy. Because the strategy is, this is the strategy. The strategy is, the other person is evil. We are less evil. We will save you. Even though my guy that can't formulate a sentence, even though my person will not even agree to a debate, we're better than them because they're evil. They're evil. Look at all the bad things that they do. Look, bad. Nothing about what you'll do. Nothing about your policies. It's not about Joe. It's about Donnie. It's not about Fetterbean. It's about Dr. Oz. It's not about Katie Hobbs. It's about Kari Lake. You have somebody running for governor of Arizona that will not agree to debate the other governor of Arizona, the person that's running. And Kari Lake has agreed to a debate at any time, at any place, and would allow Katie Hobbs to pick the questions and even pick the moderator of that debate. Yet this person that supposedly is there to represent the people is not agreed to this debate. Much like Fetterbean. It's like their strategy is they think everyone's dumb. They're going to emotionally manipulate every person to vote for the person that they say is less evil than the other person, and that's their play. I wouldn't be surprised if Fetter Steele never debates ever, if Katie Hobbs never debates ever, and every useful clown shoe marches in their sheep's wool and goes, meh, Donnie's bad, bad orange man, bad orange man, bad. January, almost as bad as September. It's worse. Mourn the 19 guys, mourn them, mourn. It is so obvious. But whatever, who cares, right? Who cares? Meanwhile, you have the Vice President of the United States, Krusty the Clown, Krusty, getting interviewed by Chuck Todd a couple days ago, yesterday, whatever. And he goes, do you think the border's secure? And this person will look you in the face after you've seen drone footage and video footage of people crossing the Rio Grande, drowning, hiding underneath bridges. 2 million people crossing the border illegally. And she'll just go, it's secure. The border is secure. The border czar, who's never been to the border, will look you right in the face through the camera and be like, it's secure, when it has never been less secure ever. But people are so dumb that they're like, Donnie, sloppy documents, his carpet is bad, Donnie has a bad carpet, Donnie, golf Donnie, steel, Fetterman's made of steel, he is a steel person, Krusty is good, I love her laugh. They will just line up, and they actually have the audacity to suggest that people that question it, people that actually see things with their ojos, that have a half a brain wrinkle, that these useful idiots have somehow convinced themselves that they are the smart ones and we are in fact the dumb ones. What kind of psyop backwards Jedi mind trick is that? And everyone's just like, yep. It's like, okay, yeah, you mean you're pushing the pre-approved narrative? Got it. Yeah, you're real smart because you got your degree in upside down underwater dance theory from the University of Phoenix. Got it. And then on this interview with Chuck Todd, Krusty the Clown literally goes, do you think the Supreme Court, whatever? And she goes, I believe it's an activist Supreme Court. So you have the vice president, who is the second in command at one of the 3 branches of government, basically sowing disapproval and questioning the validity of another branch of government, saying that it's full of activists, that the seats were stolen, which is what they're all suggesting, and that the Supreme Court took away a constitutional right. And she has the audacity to say this. First of all, it's not a constitutional right, and they didn't take it away. And they talk so much about democracy. This is the most democratic thing that they could have done. And then her other argument is, well, they took away 50 years of precedent. If I decided something 50 years ago that was incorrect or judged incorrectly based on the facts of the case or the facts of what it was compared up to, it doesn't matter if it was 50 years ago or 5,000 years ago. The years of precedent has no significance to whether or not it was done correctly or incorrectly. The 50-year argument means nothing. It is not a constitutional right. Show everybody in the Constitution where it says that this is a right, because it's not. And you talk so much about democracy. This is the democracy. Give it to the states to vote on it. Now, you don't have to, I don't care what position you have, but if your position is half the country, 8/10 of the country, 99.993% of the country agree, well, then there should be no problem democratically making it so that all of those protections, so to speak, that healthcare, so to speak, remains in the power of the people. If it was a constitutional right, which it's not, it would be in the Constitution, but it isn't. There's nothing in there that suggests that at all. If it was there 50 years ago or 50 million years ago, it doesn't mean that it was done correctly. And last time I checked, democracy, the democracy that they're so worried about losing, even though we have a constitutional republic, The democracy is exactly what this is. Bring it back to a democratic selection on a state-by-state basis. It's called the United States of America. It's not called the United State of America. It's not called the Krusty the Clown Show, you demon. But these are the ones that are these are the nice friendly ones. They're like, get rid of it. They're like, trust us, take the juice. Meanwhile, exhausting. Meanwhile, you have Charlie Crist, who's running for governor of Florida against Big Ron DeSanta lightheartedly giving all the gifts, coming down all of the chimneys with all of the freedom treats for all of us to share. And I believe it was yesterday or in the last couple days, Charlie Crist, former Republican Charlie Crist, former pro-life, low-tax Republican Charlie Crist, who was the governor of Florida as a Republican, said that Ron DeSantis is de-Satan. Got it. Yeah, DeSanta Claus is de-Satan. Got it. Nothing like the garbage calling the kettle garbage. These people are sad inside. Charlie Crist is an empty shell of a soulless person. And they're like, dude, we're the nice guys. We're the friendly guys. That's the type of ish that the bad guys would say. That's the type of stuff that the bad guy says in the movie before it turns out that he's been the bad guy all along. Trust us. We tell the truth. Truth over facts. It's about decency, human decency. Demons. Mussolini in California cares so little about human decency. Any person that's been to California in the last 12 months knows that. Decency is long gone. You could get robbed on a train there. There are train robberies like it's the 1800s. But yeah, this is the guy of decency. Got it. And Ron DeSantis, who wants to give more freedom and power to the individual, that wants them to protect their rights and not be subject to the dictates of the biomedical nanny state, he's de-Satan. Got it. That seems likely. Yet meanwhile, while all this destruction is happening, people can't even see the most basic of things right in front of their face, as the UN is now telling Europe to not go back to burning fossil fuels this winter. And I briefly read this article that I would encourage you to go into and look at. The UN telling Europe to not go back to fossil fuels this winter, and saying if you look at things like the floods in Pakistan, that's the type of thing that will happen if you go back to fossil fuels, which means that cold, which is a far greater threat to human life than heat, claims more lives annually around the world than heat ever did, is almost a certainty for the entirety of Europe, Germany, and likely even the United States. And all these people that proclaim to be so altruistic and care about human decency are going to sit idly by, and under the guise of saving the planet, they will cheer along while the lower and middle class freeze. Because they can't afford natural gas, they can't afford oil to heat their homes, they're running out of cordwood overseas, and they will demand that anybody follow the rules, so to speak, to save the planet at the expense of so much suffering, needless human suffering, and human life. And despite all that, most people that own a home, or live in a single family dwelling, know that if a home is without heat for a period of time while there is a freeze of any kind, that the frozen temperatures inside a home will cause the pipes that are carrying water, the lifeblood of existence, to freeze and thus burst. And a burst pipe in the wintertime, or really at any time, is remarkably destructive for a home. In addition to that home being without water, which is necessary to stay clean, sanitary, food, and just subsistence in general, a destroyed pipe is very expensive to fix, can cause massive amounts of damage to a home, and can make a home uninhabitable. And for a lower or middle class family that may not have enough money to heat their home, if those pipes freeze, the destruction will be massive, and that family could ultimately have to sell their home, have their home repossessed by the bank or the financial institutions because they can't pay for the repairs, and then they become homeless. And once they become homeless, if there's not enough Fed dollars to support them, then they will likely not eat, or will freeze, or will suffer in a variety of different ways, not only them, but their families as well. But gotta do it to save the earth, guys. Let's save the earth. Even though the entire developed world has been based on using these fuels, and this one period of time, this one season, while we're experiencing this supposed once-in-a-blue-moon energy crisis, would be a more than reasonable time to allow people to exist and live. But no, they will stop at nothing to advance the global agenda to destroy as much independence, freedom, rights, health, prosperity, and the last ounce of dignity that anybody has left, to systematically destroy the lower and middle class, make them perpetually dependent on the state, eliminate the weakest of links so that a smaller populace is easier to control, and then they will use that as a justification for taking more power, more money, and more rights away from free peoples from now until the end of time by emotionally manipulating all of the other people that happen to make it through by saying, look at all these people that suffered even though we caused it. You need us to save them next time around. And their saving will do more damage than it will do good, and the destruction will continue to perpetrate. And every lie that has been more than obvious all throughout human history, in every way, up, down, left, and right, will continue. And this time, it'll be sacrificing everything for the world. And they will start feeding you bugs, which they've already started to do in Australia. School kids in Australia and the UK are now starting to be fed cricket protein. People are going to start eating mealworms and insects. Who knows what type of illnesses and sicknesses will come as a result of these supposed foods and the lack of nutrients that eating meat, for example, would provide. And who knows of the unforetold circumstances of what will happen as a result of this. These people will be weak, they will be sick, they will be subservient, and they will be dependent on the state. And I would wager that the following will happen. Your power will be rationed, your water will be rationed, your healthcare will be rationed, your amount of property will be rationed, the distance you can travel, the things you can spend your money on, the things you can talk about, the places you can go, the amount of airline tickets you can buy, the amount of properties you can own, the amount of cars you can own, the amount of gas you can buy, the amount of meat you can buy, the amount of proteins you can own, the amount of milk you can buy. All of these things will be regulated and controlled by a centralized, corruptible authority that is accountable to no one, that will remain perpetually in power until the end of time, as there will be a digital representative that can be everywhere at once, two places at the same time, that is basically indestructible, and the future of humanity will be at question, and it will happen like that. And they've been able to emotionally manipulate people without drones running the streets, holding devices that can imprison people, which they're already building more than obvious. You can see the videos of it. But if people sit by and let these people lie to them about anything and everything at any point all the time with impunity, no problem, no questions asked, if they can lie to them about the diapers, if they can lie to them about what they got to do to their kids, if they can lie to them about this, that, and the other thing and come for the youth, then how are you possibly going to be able to defend yourself mentally, forget about physically, but mentally, in the event that the thought police comes for you? The answer is you won't. But people can't see the things that are so obvious. They believe that paper falls out of a plane. They believe that a $7 billion contract is not enough incentive for a corporation to do things that are evil. They believe that gas is just mysteriously high because of Putin and not because of the policies that are put in place by not only our centralized authority that's in power right now, but the other authorities around the world. They'll lie to them right to their face about diapers, about who wears a diaper, who gets to go where and when. They'll tell you that you have to do this or you can't bury your family members, you can't go out, you can't eat at a restaurant. They don't care who you are, what career you've had, how long you've served your country, how long you've served your community. They don't care if you're a firefighter. They don't care if you're a frontline nurse, doctor. They'll fire you on the spot, no question. They'll cling and clang on pots and pans and have a parade down the center of the street to tell you how good you are, and they'll send you to the Mets game so you can celebrate at the Mets game, and they'll send you to the New York Jets game, and they'll send you to the New York Knicks game, and they'll clap along and cheer our frontline heroes. And while every single person was sitting at home getting paid double what they would have gotten paid had they actually gone to work, all the people that ponied up and risked their life to go to work, especially the ones that sat on the front lines with people that they knew had this, all those nurses, all those doctors, all those first responders, all those ambulance responders, all those firemen, all of those police officers, all those people that were out there enforcing the long pen 15 of the bureaucracy, telling you to do whatnot while they took all the risk and shouldered all the difficulty, all those people, as soon as it became inconvenient, they lost their pension, they lost their jobs, they got fired, they got told that they couldn't eat at the local establishment, and all the people that were happy to have them come into a burning building and rescue them didn't feel as comfortable letting them come into their barbershop to get their hair cut. Didn't feel as comfortable to let them come in their salon and get their hair cut. Didn't feel as comfortable to let them walk into a pizza place and buy a slice of pizza. Nope, you can come in and rescue me, you can save my life for pennies on the dollar. But when it comes to letting you come in here and eat a slice of pizza, I don't care if you served 2 tours in Iraq, dedicated your entire life to our country, have a doctor's note that says that you're allergic to this and it may end up in you risking your life. I don't care about that. Get out of this pizza place. You're no friend of mine. And what we have left when the dust settles here in your modern day world in 2022 in September is you have the following. You have people that do not care about anybody but themselves and feeling virtuous. And then you have people that are willing to question their own understanding, to question the most commonly accepted, what appears to be the agreed upon view of reality by everybody else, that are willing to have their family members, their friends, their job, their church, their cousins, their uncles, their workplace, their immediate social circle, their lifetime buddy, their lifetime friend, their spouse, their kids, all tell them that they're bad, that they're evil, that they're a demon, that they're causing other people's lives to end, that they took grandma out. All those people had to go so far into the truth to be willing to stand up to all this pushback from every single person, every TV commercial, every television station, every daytime news outlet, demonizing them constantly. Every movie, every television show, every news pundit, every social media star, every celebrity telling them how bad they are, how evil they are, get yelled at, screamed at, in person, embarrassed, in public, on purpose, told they can't fly, they can't get on a bus, they can't speak out about it, no matter what their medical pedigree is and how long they've gone. They could be the most decorated, written, journal doctor in American history, but not them. Sorry, we don't agree with that statement. They'll silence you, they'll remove you from the conversation, they'll say that you're a bad person, and every NPC, brainless, mindless drone who you thought were your friend, who is an empty shell of a nothing follower that wouldn't know the truth if it hit him in the pen 15, every single one of those people is complicit in this lack of humanity, in this fake imaginary dream world of magic that they live in, where they think that they're better than you, that they're smarter than you, and every single thing in the world is about Donnie, the bad evil man, and the homegrown bad guy. It's all about the homegrown bad guy, when the real demon is right there, right there. They were the ones that dehumanized other people. They were the people that looked idly by or looked the other way while the biomedical nanny state destroyed everybody's life. They sat there for 2 years knowing that they were doing this to their friends, their families, the elderly. They made people sit inside a hospital and die alone. They made people that were probably Dub 2 veterans sit in a hospital alone for years and die alone for this bull garbage. And nobody cares. And the paper fell out of the plane, and one was found in the field, and the building fell out of the sky, and there's no black box, and we don't know how they got there, and there's no video evidence, and dollar bill fences is cool, even though he was on that island. No big deal. It's not a big deal. Who cares? Even though the guy was convicted for unspeakable acts of which any other person would have gone to prison for life. But don't worry, it's too sensational. It's too salacious. Yet his co-conspirator is in jail and will likely get out, and no one will even know about it. Will get out while she's still alive, no problem. And he mysteriously broke his own neck bone while the cameras went off, and the guards disappeared, and the sky fall, and the sky turned red, and Parmpeo and Donnie are in a pineapple under the sea. They're paging Starlink, Nikola Tesla. He's a traveling star being. He lives under the sea. If you go down in the National Archives and you go to row 46 to the last aisle, there's a book. If you look inside the book, there's a mysterious skeleton key. If you take that skeleton key and you find Operation High Jump on page 43, and you go to Antarctica on a plane, you can fly upside down into a tube that goes under the earth, where there's a literal diamond city under the sea in Antarctica. The Greys are there. They're half biology, they're half computer, and the Greys will tell you that inside, underneath this book, if you use the key to unlock it, that Elon is a time-traveling alien, and Donnie and Parmpeo and Zelensky are in a pineapple under the sea, and they're going to save the earth. And Putin is a star being from another land, and he is here to destroy everything. Zelensky is the second coming. He's a good man. He's a brave man. He's the best man alive. He's dreamy. He's friendly. His wife is so nice. He's in vogue. Look, he's in front of a blown out building. Zelensky. If you find $10 in your pocket, you better give 9 of it to Zelensky. Yellow and blue. They're better than us. They're better than you. Send everything that you got to Zelensky. Everybody in Mississippi can drink mud water and choke on it. Sorry, this is the United States of Zelensky. Blue and yellow, flag in bio. Sorry, the flag is in the bio. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. Fetterbean is made of steel. He lives in a pineapple under the sea in Pittsburgh. He's a literal steel person. He can't say a sentence because he had a stroke. Not making fun of him. It's just true. He's made of steel. He lives in a steel plant. Under the sea is Zelensky. Zelensky is the second coming. He's an alien. He's from the past. He's Nikola Tesla reincarnated. He's dreamy. Fauci is the sexiest man alive. He was in the magazine. Sexiest man alive. Robert Downey Jr., Fauci, they made a love child. It's Fauci, it's Zelensky. And Ben Stiller went over there. Derek Zoolander was there. Blue Steel, Zelensky. He's his hero. And don't worry, everybody. Don't worry, because Mark Ruffalo's on the job. And Mark Ruffalo's going to jump onto Twitter and just get your information from Mark Ruffalo. Look, he played a fictitious green man in a fake movie. We should listen to Mark Ruffalo. He plays a lawyer in the movies. He's a lawyer in the movies. Ruffalo's a lawyer in the movies. Trust him. He has a Twitter account. He's with Pramila Jayapal. She's so sorry for the hijackers. Oh no, everybody mourn the hijackers after they just massacred 3,000 people and then 4,000 people died because the air was safe to breathe. But Ruffalo, everybody listen to Ruffalo. He's so nice. He has a Twitter account. He's in the movies. I trust him. He's a green, mysterious man. Everybody listen to Ruffalo. Cool, got it. You suck. Sorry, you suck. Vote for Fetterbean. He's got a hoodie on, Carhartt hoodie. Everybody trusts him. You're dumb. Sorry, but you're dumb. And the paper fell out of the plane. It blew up, and then the paper fell out of the plane, and they found it. Mark Ruffalo found the passport inside his dirt star on the set of Marvel: The Second Coming, and Zelensky was the executive producer. Got it. And Zelensky is so altruistic and so good and nice. Yellow, blue, send them $100 billion. Joe is sentient. Joe is sentient. Look, Dr. Jill, she's a doctor. She's wearing her grandmother's curtains. Look, she has a lemon dress. Put her on the cover of Vogue with Zelensky. She's a fashion icon. Got it. Okay, sure. You're better than us. You're smarter than us. We're the dumb ones. Got it. Paper flew out of the plane. No big deal. Fire burns steel, but it doesn't burn paper. Got it. Great. The world is trash. Everything's dumb. People are clueless. Two sides. Pick a side. You're either dumb or you're not. Sorry. It's just the reality. The story that they tell you is a bunch of malarkey. Everyone's clueless. The world is literal garbage. Finito. Fiend. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Everybody on TikTok, thank you so much for being here. Hit the like if you like it. Follow me on TikTok. Got 31,400 likes on TikTok. That's a new record. Ton of people on Instagram. Thank you so much to the 13 people that bought the badges. Really appreciate it. Redhead Bex. If you're on Instagram, you don't already follow me, hit the arrow and please follow me on Instagram. If you thought this was funny, make a clip of it. Put the video on TikTok. Blow it up, figuratively speaking. Cut the clip out where I yelled about Fetterbean, put it on TikTok. I guarantee it'll get you 1 million views. If you're on Instagram, click the arrow, follow me. Thank you guys so much for the badges. Instagram, appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Peace, love, Tahoe, Redhead Bex, W Monaco, M Billington, 3269, Amber Marie Graham, Chooks Official, Powerlifting Tammy, Good Vibes JG, Anthony Rao, Sean 87 Callahan, Denise Airway, Devious Jobin, The Notorious Jim, Nutrition with Vita, Denise Airway, and then it looks like it duplicates. Thank you guys so much for the badges on Instagram. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for the super chats on Facebook. Thank you all for being here so much. There are 500 people that are still watching right now simultaneously. That is amazing. I appreciate it so much. Go to bobbysauceshow.com to support the channel. Leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please leave a review. Share it. Go to bobbysauce.com. Grab your Literally No t-shirt. Free shipping over $50 in the U.S. Free shipping over $100 anywhere in the world. bobbysauce.com. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here for my TED Talk. That was a 2-hour rant, a record of insanity. Please take the clips of me screaming about Fetterbean, cut those clips, make a story, make a reel, put it on TikTok, blow it up. Bobby Sauce loses his mind. Hashtag who is this clam? Clams Casino, Donnie's in a pineapple under the sea. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody on the podcast. Until next time. Recording is stopped. It'll be live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the places immediately. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Facebook, YouTube.